Good afternoon, doctor. Good afternoon, class. My name is Bryan Ramirez, and I'm going to talk about molecular, genetic, anatomic, and risk profile of Hirschprung disease. Okay, first, the definition. Hirschprung disease or congenital aganglionosis is a developmental disorder of the enteric nervous system and is the most common cause of intestinal obstruction in neonates and infants.
Hirschprung disease is also known as congenital aganglionic megacolon. So Hirschsprung's is a disease that's present since birth, in which a ganglion, or a cluster of nerves, is missing, which ultimately leads to a blocked colon, causing it to enlarge. Watch the full video on osmosis.org.
Okay, applications in medicine. They investigated of the variation in risk according to the type of pathogenic allele, the contribution of each type of allele to Hirschsprung disease in the general population, and the distribution of these types of alleles across phenotypes. Our primary goal was to enable genetic stratification of patients in order to determine how genetic susceptibility manifests in clinical disease. Okay, pros and cons. The pros, well, the Hirschsprung disease is usually an isolated condition and unassociated with family history. This finding led to the discovery of 70 genes with approximately 500 rare disease-associated coding variants. And the cons, there are multiple risk factors with a specific genotype which causes a high rate of indistinence in patients. Since there are many genetic variants, it is very difficult to be diagnosed before the baby born. Well, the use applied in Ecuador in the survey, it showed that the Hirschsprung disease is determined as the rare condition or low prevalence in the Andean region, following the results of the responses of the doctors survived. In addition, in the review of the specialist medical literature is specific that of the countries of the region. Only in Peru, there are reports related to the existence of the Hirschsprung disease, are different from Colombia, while in Ecuador and Bolivia there are no reports. And finally, we have the conclusion. Well, the Hirschsprung disease is a congenital disorder characterized by the absence of ganglion cells in a variable portion of the gastrointestinal tract. Has an overall incidence of 1 per every 5,000 live births. It's caused by defects which occur during the migration of cells of the enteric nervous system during embryonic development. Intestinal motility is compromised in patients with Hirschsprung, with possibly consequent risk of bowel obstruction.
Zsolt Varga was born on Valentine's Day in 1995 in Hungary with a condition doctors there were unfamiliar with. He had Hirschsprung's disease and complications related to the painful and sometimes life-threatening gastrointestinal condition that blocks the intestines.
My doctors tried to find a solution, but my condition kept getting worse.
He had surgery as a toddler, but his condition worsened again in 2001 to the point where he had to be transferred by medical helicopter to Budapest for care. Even that wasn't enough. He wasn't getting better. His family posted flyers and turned to social media for help. His community rallied around him to raise money for him to travel to find better treatment. His doctor referred him to experts from Cincinnati Children's.
Okay, thank you very much for watching my expo.